Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this inaugural session. We're calling it Grad Plus. So if you've just graduated or you have been working for 2 years or less, we wanted to equip everyone in KC and those of us that are watching or will be listening later on with some practical tips that can help you excel at work, in your career, in your field, and just make us to not only be good Christians in church, but even to the place that God has called us to as well. So if you're watching this online, you can share the stream with someone and tell them to tune in. What will likely happen is we are going to take the stream down as soon as we are done. So don't miss that, by the grace of God. Amen. Okay. So before we get into the panel session, there are a few things I want to share just to act as background for us. And I hope that many of us take advantage of this and ask questions so that we can benefit from the wealth of experience that we have in front of us this evening. Before I get started, I want to give you an introduction to myself. Many of you don't know me. You don't know me. You only know KC, me. So my name is Joshua T. Komolafe. I like to use the T because I went online and I saw that there are other Joshua Komolafe, so I need to stand out. So T is my middle name, Tomlinson, Joshua T. Komolafe. I have this tagline that I use to give me focus in this season of my life. I help youth, young adults, and young professionals to discover what they're good at, to operate from their best, and to find fulfillment through training and development in the areas of leadership, public speaking, purpose, and branding. Those 4 areas are my areas of concern majorly. So most of the things I do will narrow down to those 4 key areas. But on top of that, I am an entrepreneur day to day. I wear many hats in business, but my premier business is speaking and coaching. That's helped me over the years. I am a minister, as many of you know, in KC. I am an author. By the grace of God, I have written 4 resources, maybe 5 now, but there's more coming. By the grace of God, there's more coming. I am a singer-songwriter. I said it, yes. I'll add it to my list. I'm a speaker, a coach. I'm a dad. I'm married to 1 woman, and I love God. Thank you. Clap for me. Amen. Let's open scripture very quickly. Ecclesiastes 10. Ecclesiastes is just after Genesis somewhere. I'm just kidding. Ecclesiastes 10. You can search Google if you don't have it. And we'll read from verse 5. I want to read the NKJV version. 5 to 7 is really key. This is from Solomon. Solomon says, "There is an evil I have seen under the sun, as an error proceeding from the ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, while the rich sit in a lowly place. I have seen servants on horses, while princes walk on the ground like servants." Can I get some tissue, please, if that's okay? Just any old piece of tissue is fine. I need to get rid of my chewing gum. It's distracting me. I have seen servants on horses, that's the key part for me, while princes walk on the ground like servants. There's a term I heard, a phrase I heard. If you bring one out for me, please, that'd be great. There's a phrase I heard a few years ago that's really shaped. Thank you. Excuse me. It's really shaped my understanding of dominion here on earth in this dispensation. The phrase says there's a difference between the person of Jesus and the principles of Jesus. So many Christians don't understand the difference between the two. That we're called into relationship with the person of Jesus, but it's through the principles of Jesus we will reign as kingdom candidates here on earth, that we will dominate, actually. So it's the reason why, whether you're a Christian or not, if you apply the principles, you'll notice that things just work for you. Genesis speaks of seed sowing and harvest. It says, as long as the earth remains. It doesn't say, as long as you're a Christian. As long as the earth remains, there will always be cold, there will always be heat. There will always be seed time, there will always be harvest time. So as long as the earth remains, if you understand seed time, then you will also reap harvest time. Does that make sense? Sometimes, I'm going a bit off tangent here, you can reap a harvest off someone else's seed, but there was still a harvest, there was still a seed time. Does that make sense? Yeah. As long as the earth remains, not as long as you're a Christian, not as long as you come to church, not as long as you love God, not as long as you read your Bible, not as long as you sow a seed, as long as the earth remains, if you follow principles, you will get the results that are connected to those principles. So if you try to follow the principles without having a relationship with the person of Jesus, then you'll reign on earth, but when it truly matters in eternity, it will count for nothing. So many people that are following the principles that are not Christians, things are working for them. But in the end, if you don't know the person of Jesus, you don't have access to God the Father. Jesus said there's only one way to God, through me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. So for anyone watching this at some point and you don't actually have a relationship with Jesus Christ, I want to encourage you. It's good to follow the principles, but make sure you have a relationship with the person. That said, many of us here have a relationship with the person. That's not the problem. The problem is we don't also apply the principles that are connected to or principles of Jesus. And the truth is, some people approach Jesus and they said, "Oh, good teacher." And he stops them and said, "Why do you call me good? Only God the Father is good." Everything good about life comes from God. You must understand that. In fact, I've seen a phenomenon because it's an area and industry I'm involved in. Motivational coaches, life coaches have started to teach their clients to be thankful. They're teaching them thankfulness. Where have we heard that before? In the church. It's in Scripture. Psalm 100, approach the gates of God with thanksgiving, enter into his courts with praise. They're taking the principles and they're applying them. They don't say it's from Scripture, they don't say Psalm 1, but they just say, oh, be thankful. Have an attitude of thankfulness. And people are sat there like, that's true. I'm going to reflect on. And there's something that happens when you have that attitude of thankfulness. It breeds contentment. Does that make sense? It helps you to relax and say, do you know what? I'm grateful for the things I've achieved. I'm grateful for what I've been through. And so if you follow the principles, that's the point I'm making, the results, you'll be able to dominate here on earth. And I've seen that when it comes to work, we don't talk about work in the church often. We just come, let's praise God, let's worship God. Great. Have a relationship with Jesus, fantastic. But what happens to the principles when you get to work? If you say Jesus, Jesus in this day, sometimes now you're going to get shot. You get fired. In fact, forget the Jesus, Jesus. If you say Jesus, Jesus and you're productive, it's hard for you to get fired. Because it's like, well, you're making money for us. They might call you aside and say, tone it down a bit, but you're bringing something in for this firm, or the business is or you're producing solutions. You're an innovative person. When we have challenges like Daniel, we don't have a choice. We have to go to you. So I wanted to share a few things with us, and then we'll get into the panel session very quickly, but based on what I'm saying here. And I want you to take this away, that I need to know the person of Jesus, but also follow the principles of Jesus as well. And for every business sector, for every area in life, there are principles that govern that area that will enable you to excel, whether you believe in God or not. Having a relationship with the person is an addition to you following the principles. We must never, ever forget that. Why is this unbeliever rich? Because they followed the principles of money making. They follow the principles of wealth creation. They follow the principles of investing. Whether you're a Christian or not, if you follow the same principles, you will get results. You will. You will get results. And I think one of the things God is doing in our generation is raising a people who will be dual, both have a relationship and have proof of following the principles. No longer will we just be spiritually rich, but physically poor. Amen. Okay, let me share 5 things with you. Many of you have heard me say this before, but I'm speaking to people that are graduating for the first time. You've never worked before. or you've been working for 2 years or less, and maybe you're still trying to get your feet settled. So these 5 things are going to be key for you as you progress in life, in your career or industry. Number 1, you must understand that your intellect will only get you into the door. Please write that down. If you've been smart in school, things have worked well. I was talking to my wife recently and I said, work is like the playground at school. That it's annoying how much life just repeats itself. In the playground, there's a cool gang or cool crew. In the playground, there's a bully. In the playground, there's the rich crew. In the playground, there's I have no clue what I'm doing here, but I'm, In school, you have some teachers that are very nice. The way they explain things to you, you just like the way. Those teachers are your managers at work. In school, you have some teachers, they read like lectures. Today, you're wondering, how on earth did this person get this job? But they are in the job. You have some people, they got the job through connection. They have no idea what the job is about, but they're your manager. You're sat there like, my goodness, God. You're pretty much doing the work. That cycle repeats itself. Many people don't know that. So when they get into work, you actually have a chance to reinvent yourself based on the understanding of how the playground is or how school is. I'm telling you, there's a cool group. Sometimes you get some favors when you're in, if you're not in their good books, you're finished, you need wisdom to work around. So if you can understand, they call it workplace politics, it just starts to change the game for you. And the reason why I'm speaking to 2 years or less is, even if you started working, you've not really gone into governance yet. So you're still like being used as a foot soldier at the forefront. You don't understand strategy. But if you're going to do well in your career, you're going to advance, you need to have an understanding of these things and position yourself from the beginning. It's very important. So number 1, your intellect, your smarts, your brains only gets you into the door. That's the first. I don't care how many books you've read. It doesn't matter once you cross into, on the playground, the smartest ones, there's sports going on. Sports, you see the football pitch, boys are sweating at lunch. That's usually the main attraction. Girls have stood around, oh my God, I like this one, oh my God. And the smart ones are on the side reading their books and nobody cares. The smart ones, I'm sorry to say, are in the IT department, hidden away. Of course, I'm speaking metaphorically, but you understand the gist. Your intellect only gets you into the door, no matter the industry that you're in. Number 2, again, there are caveats to this, but I'm speaking on a broad level. Number 2 thing you need to know is your personal leadership will get you established. Personal leadership will get you established. What is personal leadership? Stuff like good discipline, patience, not you, patience, not Bridget. I'm kidding. Inside joke, never mind. Good time management, good organization skills, and so on and so forth. Handling yourself well will get you established. So again, you'll hear from the panelists, when you start working, you just find that you're so tired. It's so annoying how students, I don't care what course you were doing, whether it's chemical engineering or medicine, or what are some of the hard courses that feel like they drain your life? Music, yeah. Some people argue otherwise. Architecture, I don't know. What are some of the tough courses? I don't care how tough your course was. I promise you, when you start working, you were not ready for it. You were not ready for it because it's back to back every day, 9 to 5. And it's not 9 to 5. It's 8:30 to 6:30. It's not 9 to 5. And that's not including commute time if you're not working from home. Every day. It's like, at least when you're studying, like your lecture schedule will change on some days, so you get to lie in. Even if it's 10 o'clock one day, you start, thank God, one day's reading week, what is reading week now? Half term. There's no half term when you're working. If you use up your holidays, you're finished. You have to be smart. How do you position stuff? Your personal leadership, how do you establish yourself? It will literally get you established so you don't feel like what is happening to me? And most people, when you start work, the first 2 years, you're literally trying to get your feet on the ground. But if you understand this now, you can speed that process up. Excuse me. The first 3 to 6 months, you will be tired physically. You're not going to be able to see your friends, depending on the line of work you're in, because everybody's now busy. And you're going to start to find that I need to start to schedule when I see the people I love. And if you're not good at organizing your time and yourself, personal leadership, you're going to really struggle. You'll fall off and you'll suddenly become lonely and you'll hate your job, but actually it's not that deep. You just need to be better at personal leadership. So your personal leadership will get you established. It's very, very important you understand this. Number 3, your functional leadership will get you noticed. What is functional leadership? Being able to lead in your area of gifting well. So in your department, for example, you latch onto a tool that helps you to produce results. You found a way to yield results in your area or your department. That's functional leadership. So when you do well and you produce in your department, people start to notice there's something. Who is this person? Who is this? But I will mention, if you lead well in your department but don't lead yourself well, you will crumble. Because you can be producing results for the firm, but if you're not leading yourself well, it means that the way you produce results is through cheating, is through stepping on other people's backs, and so on and so forth. And it might seem to work well for the firm, but then people hate you. Nobody wants to hire you outside of you. Does that make sense? So learn to lead yourself well first, then functional leadership, lead your area where you're called to in your firm. That will get you noticed. The next phase, many people don't understand this, and that's where they stop. Your teamwork gets you likable. You must learn how to work with other people. You're now becoming an adult. The group work stuff you did for uni, some people slaved off, some people, you need to learn the dynamics of dealing with people, how to work with people, how to encourage, motivate people for the betterment of the team. The more you can work with a diversity or different groups of people, the better you become in terms of your likability. Different managers, different senior managers, different line managers will start to request for you. Because no matter how difficult the team is, look, if you like sports, every smart manager, if you have the chance to build your team, you're looking at personalities. And that's one of the reasons why, sorry for the ladies, Real Madrid is doing so well, but just follow what I'm saying principle-wise. Don't forget what I said, the principles of Jesus, very important. Principle-wise, the players shouldn't work the way they do in Real Madrid. Some of them even play the same positions. We're going to see how Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. is going to work this new season. The point is, Ancelotti, the coach, he has a philosophy, and he says it all the time. I don't tell them we must play this system. I play based on the player's strengths. So every manager is looking at the team of people that they have to deliver a project with, and they're saying, who's going to make the team work? I don't care how smart you are. There's some people that are really smart, but they don't work well with people. Managers are scared to bring you on because whatever they're trying to build with the team, because as you grow in life, you realize that if you want to get far in life, you're going to have to do it with people. You can go fast by yourself, but to get far, and most team or most projects at work require far results. And if you're going to achieve that, you need to be able to work with people. So you want to understand, I'm not saying everybody in the work has to be your best friend, and we'll go through that later. But you need to understand, how do I posture myself in such a way, even when people don't like this person, I get on with this person. I know how to extract information from this person, and not in an FBI way, but I can work with differences. It's very key. Teamwork will get you likable. And finally, your organizational leadership will get you promoted. What is organizational leadership? That is when you actually lead people. So that's where we start talking about stuff like charisma, your speaking, your leadership. So your soft skills. If you research soft skills, some of these things will come up. Organizational leadership is so key. There are some people, this is how it is on the playground, I'm telling you. some guy on the playground, he doesn't come to school on time. His tie is always to the left. He never buttons his top button, but he's great at football. Everybody loves this guy. He's just good at football. He doesn't do well in class. When the teacher asks him a question, he's the class clown. But when they're looking for a prefect, everybody votes for him. Why? So translating that to the world of business or work, you must understand the things that the top level directors or people that run businesses look for when they're trying to employ people that will lead other people. So even in the creative industry, as you start to mature, because, okay, for every industry, there's always a project sponsor. Listen to the terms I'm saying, even if you don't understand, just take note of it. For example, a film is going to be made. Let me use you as an example. Someone is going to sponsor that film. Somebody will sponsor the film. The person sponsoring the film will usually have a say in what happens in the film. Even if there's a director or producer that pitches the film, the project sponsor will say, well, thanks for your idea, but I think instead of a red car, let's have a blue car. And the producer say, okay, that's fine. It doesn't kill the film. Thank you. If you go to the world of work corporately, in project management, there's a project sponsor that will usually dictate what they want to see happen in the course of the project. Am I making sense? Is that correct? It's correct. I know it's correct. He'll speak later. So when they dictate what they want to see in the film, in the work, whatever it is, then the different leaders below them will start to look for people that can implement that. And one of the biggest problems you're going to encounter in work is change. Change is so hard to enforce with people. People don't like change. People like what they've seen before. They like the status quo. So when you see someone that understands how to work with people with soft skills, organizational skills, and can actually effect change, one of the other things that's difficult in the place of work is risk. Risk is, how do we handle risk? The risk, the exposures to the business, the exposures. What if we're shooting the film and all of a sudden there's a tsunami that messes this setup? What's our backup plan? How do we deal with that? If you pose yourself as someone, and can I say this to those of you watching and here, or that will listen to this later, if you can present yourself as someone who, having this understanding now, goes for trainings in this area, when they start to look for, you know how we joke about, we start a job, but they're already looking for 15 years experience. There are so many. You can start that now. You can start that now. Take yourself, go and learn. What are some of the soft skills? What is required to lead people? Organizational leadership skills. This is very important. It will stand you out. How do I handle risk? No matter the industry you're involved in, they will look at your CV and say, whoa, this one is called into management, and they'll fast track you. I'm telling you straight away. So if you can understand some of these challenges and start to apply yourself now, when it's time to choose, you've already had a head start. You understand the language. You're positioning yourself to win already early. Does that make sense? It's very, very important. And that's it for me. Number one, the principles of Jesus and the person of Jesus. You must have a relationship with the person of Jesus. But his principles help you win. His principles help you win. Sometimes the principles seem silly and straightforward, but if you can apply the principles, you will win. And that's God's plan for us here on earth, to win. What's the first point I mentioned after that? Foundation? Sorry. Sorry? Okay, what's next? Okay. What's next? What's functional leadership? All of you that are just talking. What? Okay, you can say that. Your area of specialty, area of gifting, functional leadership. So we can talk more about that later, but just have a brief overview of this. That your brain, your smarts, only gets you in the door. That's it. Once you're in the door, go back to playground rules. I'm telling you guys, honestly, when you start working, you'll see what I'm talking about. Your manager, How are they picking people to be promoted? How? And you say, but I did everything that I listed, I went through. And you need to understand the rules of the playground and start to beat the system. May God help us in Jesus' name. Amen. In some workplaces, they will say, money is tight, the pool of profit was low this year, but some people still got promoted. How? What was the rule that they used to pick those people? May God give us understanding. What's the next one? Your teamwork gets you likable. If you can't work with people, don't care how talented you are, it gets to a point no one wants to be with you, so you get left alone. And anything that's done at a big scale is done with people. And if you can't work with people, you're always angry, you're always, oh, Jesus is Lord. You know, it's always you, that the baton, everybody's doing well, they pass the baton, they're running fast. It's always your leg, the baton falls down. Why? If you can't do and teamwork in the place of work, outside of school, requires wisdom from God. Because you will have some people that intentionally, as they're passing you the baton, they're throwing it to you. And at work, they don't say, oh, don't worry, we understand that the person threw it. They say you dropped it. When you're driving, I find this so annoying. When you're driving, I'm going to give 2 examples. When you're driving and you're driving at your normal pace, if somebody hits you from behind, it doesn't matter if it's your fault or their fault, it's their fault because they hit you from behind. I don't know who set the rule. I've seen some mad cases where it was the person at the back that moved too quick, the person at the front, they tried to enter the lane, but the person at the back is your fault. I don't know why. Second example, in the UK, if a burglar breaks into your house and in the name of self-defense you hit them, you can be liable. And you go to, you don't know. If you have a glass or something sharp on your fence and the burglar gets hurt on your fence, you have to pay. Oh, you don't know. In the UK, the laws are different. I said, what kind of law is this? That's how life is, guys. I'm trying to wake you up. When you step into work, someone throws the baton, they didn't do their part properly. Wisdom requires that you don't just say, well, it's not my business anyway, and you let the baton drop because you understand that I must be a good team player. Does it mean you start packing everybody's scraps all the time and be the doormat? No, there's also wisdom there as well. But make sure it's not perceived. And if you want to take a key word down in the world of work, perception is key. Perception is key. The way you carry yourself, the way people look at you, the way it seems like you bring value to the table, even when you don't bring value, but you must be mindful. The way I carry myself is important. You'll see opportunities come to you because of perception. I remember before I was asked to step into leadership in KC, my life was full business. I love God, but I was full business. If you check my page, Instagram, before KC, you'll see I'll post with picture. I wore suits every day. People would think I'm much older than I am. I got some opportunities. People just thought I was responsible. Just this guy just seems like a good guy. I'd post motivational quotes. I stand like this. I just sit. On Instagram, I put position. And there's a way to carry. I'm telling you guys, there's a way you present yourself. It's very important. Perception. Take note of that keyword. Your teamwork. We've said that. And then organizational leadership. Many Christians fall short here. Not many Christians enter C-suites or become project sponsors. Not many Christians are selected as top directors, as chief officers. Not many Christians are selected as top governance leaders in different sectors because they don't understand. You must understand how to carry people along, but you don't learn that overnight. You must apply yourself. Church is a great place to practice. I'm telling you. You make yourself committed and then give things into your hands, put responsibilities into your hands. This is a free place of training. Church, I always argue, is in fact one of the best places of training because people aren't being paid. If you can carry people along for free, then you can do it when there's money involved. Yes. If volunteers are willing, if you can get to a point, people are willing to voluntarily give up their time. They say, tell us are we turning left? We will turn left. If you can learn how to do that in the face of risk, in the face of leading change, then you can lead anywhere. I've said it. I know a time is coming when God will introduce me to governments where they're having challenges with youth. And they say, we're having problem with these 10,000 young people in Panama in this area. What do we do? I said, don't worry, give me 3 years. We introduce discipleship, master life. We start praying, set up a prayer cell in the background. Then we have a meeting. What's the problem? You learn buying. You learn getting feedback from people. Some of the things I do in KC, I'm not doing it like artificially, that's the right word. It's genuine, but it's still helping me learn. If you can start to apply these skills and understand, you'll become someone else. I'm telling you. How do you deliver an idea to people, speaking to them, and by the time you're done, people's hearts are charged up. They say, yes, this is what we need to. What is it? We're all going to stab our left leg with a knife because by stabbing it, the blood that's released is going to help these people that have sickle cell. Everybody stab your left leg. Yes, we will stab. and you get to a point where you're able to chart at work. Some of the best orators at work, they can't do the work they've just told you to do. They stand there, today, I just want you guys to understand that the firm is at a difficult place. And you're sat there like, this is deep. Then they say, just go out into your teams and carry the stuff out. Then you see them on the floor and say, that thing you spoke about, that's bad personal leadership. But the point is, when companies are looking for people to promote, it's that person that they always promote, the cool boy on the playground that can dribble, doesn't know 2 + 2. His tie is never straight, but he could dribble. He knows how, he's so athletic, the girls like him. The company thinks, we want good public image. It's important. Some of the things that are not spoken, time is going, but we have a bit of, but time is going. I want us to really enjoy the panelists today. One of the things that's not spoken of is the way you present yourself. It's very important. Company image, they're looking for a particular type of person, and every day, and they don't talk, but they just take notes against your name. That, this one can never be. I'll never forget something that happened to me. I can't confirm this 100%, but I think this is what happened. The school I went to for sixth form, St. Bede's private school, wasn't that sick, but it was much better than where I was coming from. It was a different lifestyle. And they used to have prefects. And every year they'd look for prefects to appoint in your second year. And I'll never forget this. I joined the school. I was a very angry child, if you don't know. Whatever you think, you are very angry. I took things personally. I felt that, this person doesn't like me, this teacher doesn't like me. It wasn't necessarily true. So in the school, I remember we didn't have many black people in my year. So in the name of diversity, they need to try and pick one of the black people to be prefects. I can't confirm or deny this, so don't quote me, you know what I'm saying? But I remember I got approached by some of the teachers, and they would basically test my temperament and my reaction to stuff, and I didn't do well. I'll never forget my final chance, Miss Corrie. And she just said, Josh, the way you... I said, no, you don't understand. And she didn't say anything. She said, okay, that was it. I didn't get approached again after that. And I'll never forget, in my second year of sixth form, one day I got invited to this room that all the prefects go to have tea with the headmaster, and they discuss some details. A very nice room. I've never been there before. Nice teacups, nice cakes. And, I sat there and said, this could have been me. I said, I missed out. They don't tell you. I'm telling you, fam. They don't tell you. But your actions, the way you present yourself, the way you don't care about, you move, man. Look, I can talk to most of us here as black people. Look, I just don't like the way I'm, but, sorry. Understand the game, play the game. When you get to the top, you change the game. Amen? Yeah, you're trying to change it from the bottom. The people that control the game, they just take notes. They say you will never get to this position to change the game. Understand, ask God to give you wisdom so that you can rise to that top and change the game. But at the middle bit you're in, you just started, junior doctor, you're making noise. They say, okay. Oh, lovely. Just put a tick by your name. You will never rise to that point. God forgive us. God forbid. May we be like Daniel. who was not only very spiritual, the Bible says he prayed 3 times a day. You'll think he was a Muslim. That's how, look, he was consistent in his spirituality. His relationship with the person of God was very strong, but also he understood the principles. The Bible would say, amongst all the magicians, the wise men, he was always the best. Whenever a new king comes in terms of administration, he was the best. So in his functional area, he was the best. He led his giftings well. In the name of being wise, when they try to find something against him, perception-wise, is it this wise? Oratorily, he's the best. The way he speaks to the king, oh, dear king, oh, great one, oh, this, and he understood communication. Organizational leadership. There's a risk coming. There's a time when you read Daniel and the Bible says the king was about to kill every wise man, whether Jew or not, everyone in his kingdom, because they couldn't tell him his dream and then interpret. Daniel goes to the king, oh, wise king, give us a day. Give us some time. We'll come back to you. Persuasion. That's a good organizational skill. As I'm talking, it's coming to me. So as you mature in your career, in your field, you must understand some of the unwritten rules of succeeding in your place of work. And if you can know it now and begin to apply yourself, there are some great books to read on emotional intelligence. How do you read people? How do you pass things across? How do you get people on your side? How do you get a work sponsor that will speak for you in rooms where you don't exist? Darius was a work sponsor for Daniel. Daniel was in the lion's den. Darius was looking for laws. He said, is there a way we can write? There must be a loophole. The king, the director of the firm, the CEO, was looking for laws for Daniel to try and find a loophole for him. And in your journey in work, you're going to need sponsors, people that are ahead of you. There are rooms where your name is being mentioned and they say, no, this person is a good person. Put their name forward. May God give us understanding in Jesus' name. And may God help us in our generation to be wise so that we can win here on earth before we get to heaven. Because God does want us to win. And I've made up my mind. I want to be part of the people who have a very strong relationship with the person of Jesus, but also not only understand the principles, but is someone that's known for applying the principles. Because, again, knowledge has killed the church. We know what we need to do. We don't do it. May God help us. Thank you, Father. Amen. Okay, so now I want to welcome the 5 panelists to the stage. I'm not going to introduce them now. They'll introduce themselves. And I will just rove around with my mic. So if you don't mind, 5 panelists, if you just go to the stage, sit down, that's fine. Thank you. Let's clap for them as they come. Is this angle okay? Should I move a bit? Where should I move to? Anywhere but not there. Okay, I'll move here. Is this okay? Okay, that's great. Yeah, you can stop now. Thanks. Okay, fantastic. Can we have a mic for the... Okay, mic is coming. Whilst the mic is coming, I'm just going to give a brief overview. So from your right, my left, is that correct? Yeah. We have Mabel. She is... Mabel, amen. I'll let them talk themselves. We have Dr. Anna, we have Dolly, we have Oluwalogbon, and we have Namdi. Thankfully, one should be fine. Okay, no, that's fine. You can share the mics amongst yourselves. We can start from that side. So to begin this evening, actually, I want you all to introduce yourselves. Tell us your journey from when you left uni till where you are now. You have like 2-3 minutes each. We just want to get good background. Please take note of this so that you know how to ask your questions. Don't forget what I said, that even if one of them doesn't relate to your industry particularly, try and get the principles. Try and get the principles. Okay, let's go.
Hi everyone, I'm Mabel and I am a data analyst, coding instructor, and a little bit of content creator, but still within the tech, the tech field. So how did I get here? Little backstory. You can tell I have an accent. Did not grow up in the UK. I grew up in Italy. At 16, my parents said, with 1 month notice, they were like, "Oh, you're not going back to school. We are moving to the UK." And I thought, "Oh, wow, okay. I was 16, as I said, so did my A-levels. And at the point of picking a course in uni, I was still trying to get my way around in the UK. It was a lot. So when picking a degree, I spoke to my teacher and I thought, what can open the most doors? And she gave me a list of degrees. And in the list, there was maths. And I thought, okay, maths is the same in every country. I wouldn't have too much of a difficulty understanding equations, because at that point, it doesn't matter whether I'm fluent in English or not. And it's going to open a few doors, given that I don't know what I want to do after uni. After uni, again, still confused about what I wanted to do. But took the whole summer out, I graduated, nice. My mom came into my room, I think in August 2018, and told me, Mabel, you need to get a job. And I thought, well, fair enough. So I had applied for a few graduate schemes, and I didn't get any, especially because my CV was not tailored at all. I was applying from finance to teaching with the same CV. So I'm not surprised I didn't get anything back. But I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I got a job as an insurance agent, a call center. And worked there, hated it, but pushed through because, again, sometimes you don't have a choice. And I remember that one of those days, we had a family friend, and the eldest daughter in the family, she was in Manchester working as a software engineer. On my way back from work once, there was a bus stop. I went to the bus stop, and I had another friend as well that worked at the same company. And she was on the phone to this lady. And I walked past, and my friend said, "Oh, hey, Mabel." And my friend on the phone, the software engineer, was like, "Mabel, is she there with you?" She was like, "Yeah." "Is she looking for a job? Can I speak to her?" And essentially, she told me how they were looking for an entry-level trainee software engineer at a company, if I was interested and if I wanted to apply. And I thought, I hate Newcastle. I don't want to be there. I wanted to be in London, but the salaries were not making sense. So I thought, Manchester, not bad. Trainee software engineer, don't really know what they do, but I'm open to learning, so let's try. I applied, went through the screening, got in, fell in love with it, and thought, software engineering is nice, tech is nice, but I still want to use my degree. I did a bit of research, and I found the perfect in-between, which was data, in general, data science, data analysis, which is a bit of, computer science, but also maths and statistics. And I found my perfect spot. And I've been there ever since. I think I really wanted to highlight the fact that I didn't start straight into tech. I did a bit of call center, and as I said, I didn't like it, but the opportunity found me by me being faithful in what I was doing at the time. And ever since then, I've just been very passionate about getting people that are interested in tech, helping them get into it, especially because it's a great field to be in. There's a lot of free resources. They're not very traditionalist like in other fields. And yeah, that's basically me and my journey.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna and I'm a junior doctor. I think, contrary to Mabel's story, my journey to medicine starts, I don't know, let's say I was 13, 14. And I remember, growing up in my household, thinking about career aspirations. I think when I was very, very young, I really wanted to be a ballerina. I don't know if many people knew that. I just love to dance. I still love to dance. But that was never going to run with my parents. So we started looking at what I was good at. I was very good in maths, science. And I think my parents noticed very early on that I liked fixing things. I'm the kind of person that would take pens apart, put them back together. If the TV wasn't working, they'd call me, Anna, the TV isn't working. I would pull the TV forward, start looking at cables behind. Everyone thought I was going to be some sort of engineer, but I hated physics. I cannot stand physics. So that went out of the window. But what we did notice is I like fixing things. I'm good at science and I'm really good with people. I really like a job that would involve people. And I like speaking to people, talking to people, helping people, and all of that. Another thing about me is I've worn glasses since I was about 3 years old, and I used to love going to Specsavers. Absolutely loved it. So at one point I thought, oh, that's what I want to do, because I like going to Specsavers so much. I want to be an optician. But my mum, knowing me so well, says you'd get really bored. Like, you can't sit still. You can't sit in one place. If you're going back to the same room, doing the same eye test and eye screening day after day, you would get bored of it. So at the age of 14, she says, okay, why don't you, and I can tell it was like the African parent agenda in her, but she sold it like a really good idea. She was like, why don't you be a doctor, but specialize in eyes? So you still get to, it's this mix of fixing things, helping people. It involves science. You're obsessed with glasses and eyes and things. And I think you get that variety of clinics, theatre, ward. And at the age of 14, I looked at my mum and I said, that is a brilliant idea. I was like, wow. And I don't think I've actually told that story much. That is the day I decided I want to be a doctor. And it's been 10 years. And I'm still hoping eventually to become an ophthalmologist, which is a doctor that specializes in eyes and operating, which is different to the people who work in Specsavers. They just do glasses, but we actually take apart eyes and pivot. No, because nobody knows what's the difference between an optician, an optometrist, and an ophthalmologist. An optician is the place, Specsavers, Boots, Vision Express. An optometrist is the person that works in the place. Ophthalmologists operate.
Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, so then 15, I have this thing where, I don't know if you call it locked-in syndrome, you're just obsessed with it. So it was how do I get here? As a 15-year-old me, I said, okay, I need this GCSE, I need these A-levels. And I started looking at, I didn't even know you needed to do medicine to become an ophthalmologist. I started Googling, and then I was seeing, what the job involves, salaries and stuff like that. I said, yeah, great idea. And then I realized, okay, I would have to do medical school in order to get there. Started researching, applied to medical school, got into study at Manchester. I did 5 years at Manchester, but at the end of my 4th year, I did this thing called an intercalated degree, where you take a year out of your medical studies to gain an additional qualification. It was optional, but I thought, okay, because I know where I'm going, I think it would be beneficial for me. So I went down to London at UCL, and I did a master's in ophthalmology. And I was like, yep, great. It was kind of because I knew I was going, let's score as many points as we go along. At that point, I was still eligible for funding and things like that. So it made more sense for me to do the degree whilst I was still in uni. And also, once I graduated, to go back and study once you stop studying is so hard. So I think that's something that I really, because there is an option to do masters a year or two after you graduate. But I think doing it whilst I was still in my student phase, whilst there was still funding and things available to me, I really, I'm glad I made that decision. Graduated in summer of 2022. In my final year, I applied. Medicine is almost very linear in terms of you graduate, you become a doctor. There's a national application program where everyone who's got a medical degree can apply it and can get a job. So it is very different to a lot of people where it's I've done something like maths or history or something, and you're just what do I do now? It was very much medicine, doctor. Back when I was doing it, it was based half off of an exam called an SJT, which I actually think other fields use, situational judgment test. So half was SJT, half was how well you've done in uni. And I think by doing both well on the SJT and well in uni, I was able to you rank locations of where you want to work and then you rank your jobs. I was able to get my first choice location, which was Manchester, and my first choice hospital, which is Withenshaw, is the hospital I work at the moment. And since working, I've been in the foundation program. You work 4 months in different specialties as a junior doctor to start with before you can then apply to specialize in the thing you want to do, if that makes sense. I think it's slightly the NHS's way of getting their return in investment. So it's everyone has to do that 2 years wherever they put you, wherever in the country, before you can go and choose what you need to do. And you have to do those 2 years in order to get your license to practice independently. So it's there was no option of me leaving medical school and not doing it if I wanted to work as a doctor by myself. So yeah, I've worked in urology, which is kidney, bladder, and male external genitalia kind of medicine. I've worked in gastroenterology, that's everything from your mouth to your bumhole, but not operating, so there's a difference. It's the medical management of that. I've worked in geriatrics, that's elderly people. I've worked as a GP for 4 months. I've worked in liaison psychiatry, but it was at the Christie, which is a cancer hospital, so it's specifically for people with cancer, dealing with their mental health. And then currently I work in obstetrics and gynecology, so I deliver babies. I finished the night shift this morning. So that was good.
Hi everyone. So my name is Dolly, and I worked in the construction industry for about almost 5 years. So 4 years and 8 months. And whilst working in the construction industry, I was also a makeup artist, and I owned my own business. So I've done those two things for about 5 years for being in the construction industry and 7 to 8 years as an entrepreneur. So my career in construction started in 2019 when I graduated from architecture. So for as long as I remember, I feel like I've always wanted to be an architect. So similar to yourself with your parents, when they asked you, what do you want to do when you grow up? I said, architect. I want to be an architect. And I remember at some point my mom, we went out on a walk and she said, how about nursing? Have you considered nursing? I feel like, Dolly, that would really, really suit you. And I said, no, Mom, I want to be an architect. And I knew that from a pretty young age, I was obsessed with the process of just the building process. I could stand in front of either a derelict building or a building that was being constructed, and I could just stand there for ages just watching as the workers were working on it. And I was just so fascinated at how all these different disciplines could create something that we all use on a day-to-day basis. So I always wanted to be an architect. I really enjoyed art. I'm quite creative. Enjoyed art, enjoyed drawing. What else? So arts, sociology, and history. So I think I was a very creative person, so I knew that I would do well within that industry. So so for a long time, that was the goal, to be an architect. And I made it all the way to university. I started off by studying interior architecture because I didn't get into architecture, and I was really bummed out for a long time. I said, I really want to be an architect, But the reason I didn't apply for, it's not that I didn't get into architecture, I just didn't have the confidence to go for it. So I didn't apply to be an architect, to study architecture. I applied for interior architecture because it involved less maths and science. So I didn't think I could do it. So I thought, let me just try interior architecture first, see how I get on in the first year, and then I can always transition into architecture. And that's what I did. Went really, really well. I was studying interior architecture, and I realized actually most of the modules that I'm doing here, it's the same modules that the architecture students are also doing. So why not just go for it? So between my first and second year, I then transitioned into architecture, and it was a very tough course. It was really, really tough. I'm sure some of you that have friends studying architecture, you probably don't get to see them as much because they're in the studio building things and just working on their portfolio and just always stressed out and they always tell you about how they have little time to do anything else. So that was what architecture was like I studied for 3 years. So to become an architect, you need to study for 7 years. So you need to go to university to get your Part 1 degree, then your Part 2, and then Part 3. Once you have your Part 3 architecture degree, then you can actually call yourself an architect. So yes, I know, I'm not a doctor, please. It was a very, very long process. So after finishing my Part 1 degree, at that point, I pretty much knew that I didn't want to be an architect anymore. I was like, wow, I just spent all those years studying. Now I don't want to use this degree. But I was still certain that I wanted to work within the construction industry. I wanted to work within the built environment, but I didn't actually want to be an architect. And it was I don't know whether it's because the course was just so difficult and by the end of it, my love for it had started to die. I don't know if it was that, but probably was to some level. But I was also a makeup artist while studying. So I was working on my business on the side and I really, really, really loved what I was doing. But I also still wanted to be within the built environments. And I had a choice to make. What do I do? Do I stay within construction, stay within architecture in that field, or find something else to do with my degree? Thankfully, if you study architecture, you will leave with a lot of transferable skills, so you're able to apply this into other industries. So I remember back then, about 7 to 8 months before graduating, I sat down with one of my lecturers. She was one of my favorite lecturers, but at first she was probably the toughest lecturer. I didn't think she liked me. She was very critical of my work. And for a long time, I was like, why doesn't this teacher like me? Why I try my best? I don't understand. But we had such a good relationship towards the end of my degree that she was actually the one who introduced me into the field I ended up working in, which is BIM. So BIM it stands for Building Information Management, and it is another discipline within construction, and it involved all the aspects of architecture that I really, really liked, and I didn't know about it till I spoke to her, and she said to me, so what are you going to do with your degree? I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I have it. And she asked, she asked me, what's your motivation? And I was being so honest. I was really honest with her, and I said, I want to make money. I want to make money. I feel like I was doing my research, and I found out that the amount of money the salary you would get being a Part 1 architecture student isn't what I thought it would be. And I really wanted, I was like, I studied for all those years, only for me to leave, and this is the salary that I'm expected to earn. So I was honest with her, and I said, I want to enjoy what I do, but I also want to make money. And then she said, okay, have you ever considered BIM? I said, but I don't know about that. It's a bit boring. What is it about? And she said, okay, cool. There's a module coming up, and it involves a lot of BIM. It's all about collaboration. And this module was called Collaborative Practice. And it was through this module that I found out about BIM, which was all about working with other people within the construction industry. So, but not necessarily being the architect or the structural engineer. So in my day-to-day role involved taking the architect's drawings, his or her models, taking the structural engineer's models, the M&E engineer's models, and auditing all their different designs on the one building, auditing it to make sure that before we get out onto site, all the risks are all mitigated, where we've caught all the risks and we don't end up going to site with a bunch of risks that we didn't foresee and we didn't plan for. So yeah, a lot of my role within BIM is, it was a really, really fun role. I got to play with a lot of technology. I got to help streamline the construction process through what we did in our team. It was really fun. The aspects of architecture that I loved was actually getting to build things digitally, working with software, building things virtually first before we actually take it out onto site and see the physical results. So that was essentially what BIM was all about. And I did really well in that module. I got a first, and then I decided, actually, you know what, I think this is what I want to do for the next few years. And that's how I ended up applying for roles within BIM, and also applied for architecture roles at the same time, because I still wanted to, I don't know, again, maybe it was because you go to university, you feel like you need to use your degree because you study. My parents sent me there to study. So you feel like, I still want to use my degree. So I was applying for both architectural roles as well as grad schemes in BIM and digital engineering. And I said, okay, whichever one happens, I know that's the route I'm meant to go down. And yes, I got accepted onto this really, really good grad scheme with a really good company. I didn't realize how big the company was back then as well. I just thought, okay, they've accepted me. And then I went back to my lecturer and I said, oh, guess what? I'm going to be a BIM trainee for the next 2 years. And she asked me, what company are you working with? And I said, oh, it's Walmart Dixon. And she was like, that's a really good company. I did not know that. So I say that to say, like, I literally fell into it. I had no idea what I was going to do there, but I stuck with it for the last, for the last 4 to 5 years. And alongside that, I've been a makeup artist. I work on my business on the side alongside my main 9 to 5, and now I am currently a full-time makeup artist. I made the decision to leave BIM earlier on in April, and that's pretty much what I do now, and I'll tell you a bit more about that later.
Hello everyone, my name is Oluwa Logbon. I grew up in Nigeria, and growing up in Nigeria, you had to be 5 things, or one of 5 things. A doctor, an accountant, an engineer, a lawyer, or a failure. I didn't want to be a failure, so I chose engineering. All joking aside, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always look at buildings, not buildings per se, but look at things and just imagine how I could make money from them. I used to get really excited when I would lend my brother 20 naira at a time, and he would give me 20 naira back. It used to fill me with joy. But going to uni to do business did not make any sense. Like I said, that's not one of the criteria. So I chose engineering. I wanted to be a basketballer at some point as well. I thought I would go to the US and be a Kobe. Well, I came to the UK, and it's not the same. And I realized that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. In Nigeria, I was good, but I wasn't good. I was a local champion in Nigeria. They don't play basketball here like that compared to the US. But even here, I don't play. You know what I mean? I'm not on their level. So I came to uni, did engineering, and someone told me that Ologwon, actually, my name was Dakpo at the time. I've gone through a lot. My name was Dakpo, my name was Ade, my name is Ologwon. Those are all my names. I just switch every now and then, as they say. He said, Dakpo, don't worry, once you get to the UK, just get first, and they'll be pursuing you. They'll give you 1 million to come and do a job. So, based on that advice from, I will not mention his name, I was going he lied. I went through a process of uni of going to uni, library, back home in Bolton, and that was my life. ACS was that. What's it called? Student fair? What's the first thing you do? Freshers fair? I don't know what that is. I never experienced that because my idea was that you go, you get it first, and they'll pursue you. Nobody pursued me. I got it first, and should I say very quickly, I did the mechanical engineering. I got it first, and should I say very quickly that except you do medicine, maybe architecture, there are very few courses that the degree you do matters a lot to where you then decide to go in your career. But I got to uni, I did foundation year petroleum engineering, which was me repeating what I did in Nigeria again. They made me do maths, English, and physics again. Collected £8,000 from my family, no problem. But I realized that I thought petroleum engineering included a lot of chemistry. I didn't like chemistry. I was good at physics. I was good at maths. So I chose mechanical engineering for my undergrad. The key part of the story is that I made part of my first year. I knew I did not want to be an engineer. I realized that the reason why I chose engineering was because I didn't want to be a failure. However, and the key part that I should mention is that, I came from Nigeria. It means that when I come here, they don't allow me borrow money to pay school fees. So that £8,000 was cash. And in the first year, it meant we had to pay about £13,000. I'm saying these numbers to make the point that I couldn't go back and do business. I couldn't go back and change my degree. It would have meant that £8,000 and the £13,000 had to re-up and reload it. So I finished the degree. I got it first, and then I became a sabbatical officer, which is a student union. I was the vice president for science and engineering it meant I had to go to people and say, vote for me, I'm a fine boy. No, I didn't say that. Vote for me, I would give you free parking, all of that stuff. So I got into that, and I learned a lot in that experience. Did that for 2 years. They sponsored the visa, and then what next? I got a startup visa to do a business, which meant I had to apply for sponsorship from my university and the Home Office. Do a business plan. The business is called Noala. The idea doesn't matter. It didn't work. Yet. I actually tried to do it a couple of times. It was a food business. It was supposed to be like HelloFresh, but for African food. I still feel like we need that business now, but yeah. Don't re-inspire me. Relax. I tried that for 2 years on my startup visa. It didn't work. I thought I would be really rich from doing business. I still think I would be. But at this point, I then decided that my 2 years of startup visa was now up. I needed to find a way to stay in the UK because remember that I paid 8K, 13K. It kept on going up, 13K, 14K, 15K. So 15 times 3, almost 50K. So this country owes me a lot of money. I'm not going back anywhere. And that's the story of most international students. I'm trying to bring that perspective out. You come here and you want to reap the fruit of your seed of money, of investment, as it were. So I begin to plan what next, and I speak to Chizu, actually, saying I'm looking for a job. What's up with Capgemini? He said, Aramide is currently employing at KPMG. And I said, Aramide, what going on? And long story short, I now work at a Big Four firm. 7 months in, I got the endorsement for my visa very close to the time when my old visa was. Actually, I got it like 6 months before it expired, which was a good relief to know that, cool, I can enjoy it now because no one is chasing me away from here. And it's been quite a journey. I think the key part of the story for me is that I've obviously, a few years out of uni, I'm now into corporate. The sabbatical officer job, I was playing around. I didn't know that time. It was very relaxed. It was still like uni. I was working in uni. Actually, I ended up going for my first freshers fair as an officer. Interesting. I didn't go, but I went to organize the event. That was my first one. So it was quite chilled. And I'm actually proper into like corporate world. I don't know how long God will give me here. The point is, the journey does not always have to be straightforward. It's okay to jump careers. It's okay to try something. Did I say that in between all of that, I have to do a bit of being a waiter here and there when I was doing my entrepreneurship. And it was quite a journey because I thought when I was doing it in uni, that would be the last time I would do it. And I came back as an entrepreneur and I had to do that on the side. And that was interesting. Looking back at the journey, I always ask myself the question of, do I wish I've been doing corporate life for the last 6 years? I don't know. Will I have been better off? I don't know. But to mitigate for the con of not having done that concept for 6 years, what I'm learning and what I've learned is that one needs to pick a skill that you can do regardless of what industry you are and what jump you make. I coined it as your superpower. Superman would do Superman things to save the world. Superman will use the same power to carry his babe to the sky to just enjoy. You know what I mean? Spider-Man will do Spider-Man things to save the world. It will also use his reflexes to catch the jar for grammar. The point I'm making is that throughout your journey, if you do switch, what is that superpower that you know, because I've mastered storytelling, that's my one. Even if I have to switch from this industry now, once I get in there, I can flex a little bit. It's not too much of a drawback. And to bring it back to the Bible, David and Goliath comes to mind. For David, at the time, his superpower was, oh my God, I should have checked what this thing is called. It wasn't a sword. What did he use to catapult Goliath? Stones, yes, exactly. So the same stones he used to fight whoever was fighting in the jungle, he used it in a different area, but the same superpower, and it helped him propel in that sense. And that's my journey. I'm a tech consultant, I should mention that. I don't know what that means really, but that's the entire point I'm figuring out. That's it.
Hello, everyone. My name's Namdi. I'm a senior consultant, senior technology consultant, and I've been working for 10 years now. Working for 10 years now.
So we should mention he's chartered. Is a chartered, yeah. He's really gone far.
Well, my journey has been a bit interesting. So I came to the UK. So I'm born and raised in Nigeria. I was born and raised in Nigeria. Came to the UK for my A-levels. Then, A-levels. I initially wanted to be an accountant. You said the big five, courses. Wanted to be an accountant. Then I decided, relatively early on as a teenager, that I was going to do engineering because I got my inspiration from Dexter's Laboratory. I thought I'd be inventing things by now. I would own a big factory. Well, that didn't happen, but not yet. But yeah, so I went to uni, studied electronic engineering, did my master's in advanced control and systems engineering, and then, whilst doing my undergrad, I was applying for internships, and well, that didn't happen. Then finished uni. Then that's when the big thing happened. Applying for jobs. I applied to hundreds of jobs. If you wanted to be depressed, I was discussing with my brother the other day, we're like, bro, if you want to be depressed, just go to your inbox and just type, unfortunately, or I regret to say, you would just you see the number of emails that will be there. But anyway, long story short, to God be the glory, I got a job as a graduate consultant at the time. Then, I've been working there since, and I wish I was like, my colleagues over here who got first in uni, but no, I didn't. I got 2-1, although I was very sad because I did get first in 80% of my courses exam, but my, my dissertation pulled me down just below first class, so I was depressed for a bit. Christians, we don't get depressed, But yeah, so anyway, long story short, I got a job within my first 2 to 3 years. I got awarded as one of the consultants. I got a Heroes Award for going above and beyond. Eventually became chartered, and I've been working since. I'm also an entrepreneur. Been an entrepreneur for 6 years. I'm the lead facilitator for a network of young African professionals, to God be the glory. That's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Okay. My heart is full this evening. We're not done, don't worry. But, you can't see me in the video. Mad. Okay. 1 second. Is this okay? Okay. Oh, you guys can figure it out. My heart is full because a few reasons. One, I didn't realize I'm very passionate about things like this. I'm actually really, really passionate about stuff like this. Because one day I just sat down and said, how many hours do we have in the week? How much of that time is spent at work versus how much of that time is spent in church? At the maximum, even if you come to church 6 a.m. on Sunday, leave at 6 p.m., that's only 12 hours of the whole week. And I just kept noticing that we don't really put emphasis on your work week in the church. We just don't do that. I don't know why. So it's been a passion of mine for a while. Then I have this pet peeve that, and you'll notice if you go to KC, for example, Anna's a doctor. Give her the title Dr. Anna. At work, we're not scared to call her Dr. Anna. We don't say, oh my God, let's be humble. We say, oh, Dr. Anna. So I've always felt that in the church, we don't benefit from the resources around us because we don't have times like this where we just go deep. So hearing their stories, listening to them, I'm even learning stuff about them. Oh, okay, I didn't know you did this, you know. And sometimes when we need help, literally, Oluwalogbon said, I'm speaking to Chizu, a member of the church. Capgemini is another consulting firm. Is there space? He says, no, but speak to Aramide. Aramide works in recruiting with one of the big 4 firms where he's working now. Speaks to her, gets him in. Does that make sense? But if we're not having these conversations, we actually miss out on some of the opportunities that are around us. So I want us in this season going forward to develop this attitude now where we're just speaking to people and God cares about our lives holistically. And we're not trying to come, I'm a Christian, and you just come to church, talk about the stuff that you do, and let's see what God does through it. And we talk about dominion, kingdom influence all the time. This is where it starts from. So I'm really happy, honestly. And I was glad that you took time, told us the stories. I love to hear. I've never heard that. I've known you for like 8 years. I've never heard that story of at 14, my mom Specsavers. Now I know more. So I want to ask you all, do you mind just telling us about a career milestone that you're proud of? And again, for those of you that might be tuning in at this time or are in the house, we're trying to learn principles that will help us. And there will be a time to ask questions. I'm hoping we can finish quickly so that we can really ask questions. We have till 9:30, don't worry. So take note of some of, sorry? It's finishing, I know. We'll have more sessions. So tell us about a career milestone you're proud of a bit more faster so that we can get to the questions. Let's start with Namdi. Yeah, career milestone you're proud of.
I think the one I'm proud of the most is, I sort of alluded to it towards the end, where 3 years in, I got awarded by, I'm now CEO of the company, a Heroes Award for going above and beyond to the call of duty to deliver value to our colleagues and to our clients as well. So basically that was, it recognized me as the top 3 consultants in the country.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. Clap well, oh. That's big. Sorry,
solid.
quick question. Would you say that has that opened any doors for you? Are you aware of any doors that's opened for you? Or did it just show you you're capable?
I think if I knew what I know now, I probably would have used that better. Yeah.
Tell us, how would you have used it better?
So now I know that, and this is something I learned relatively recently, that at career advancement, quick and accelerated career advancement is 10% performance, 30% image, and 60% exposure. And I think you were talking about it, in your introduction initially. So with that exposure, if you are able to raise your profile quickly, you will see accelerated growth because people would want to get to know you, get you involved in your project, and so that's why I said.
So would you say you could have even joined a different firm at a higher income bracket?
Basically, so that's an example, yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay. Wow. Please take note of this, guys. This is gold. I'm telling you. People pay fees in networking groups.
Go on. Take notes so I can come and call it a note for you. Yeah. I was thinking about this, and I think for me, it's when I got a starter visa, and I think for me it was key because it showed me that I could do things in the unconventional way. I know very few people that get a starter visa or have ever gotten a starter visa, and there were quite a few different options, and options that were quite close to me in terms of being able to secure your visa in the UK. Marriage is not far. Arranged marriage was not far. And I think for me, thinking about a point where I was very proud of myself was being able to look out for what that option was and pursue it like I was gonna say like a dog. I want to say we're just like dog at the whatever. But you get the point. I really try my best to get it out. But it took a lot of outside of box thinking because no one around me had done it before. And yeah, that's one moment I'm definitely very proud of.
And, you know, I can speak to that because obviously I've known you for a while. And I've seen the journey you've been on since SU Vice President till now. And, you know, recently, I'm blowing your own horn, when you told me I've done my Prince 2 foundation and I passed. The way I hugged you, you were thinking, yeah, Josh, I still have the practitioner, but I hugged you because I hugged you from the SU Vice President. I said, see the journey this guy has been on. I remember when you started No Wahala and you had to go back into doing the waitering business, hospitality, and I just saw the way you were just depressed. You were like, I have to go back. You would miss some Sundays because you're working in this place. Sometimes you forget to tell, you said God. So when I was hugging you, I said, man, like, see the journey this guy has been on. And you've not started yet, you know, and don't give up on the dreams that God has given to you business-wise, because you'll look at what Dolly, and I want Dolly to speak next, or she is speaking next, and you'll see something. But I'm really happy for you, honestly. I'm taking this one. Let's clap for him. It's, yeah. And I think anyone that's in a situation now, you know, honestly, people don't tell the details in between, but he didn't do anything illegal. I mean, nobody's perfect, but he tried. He said he could have gone to do arranged marriage. You know, some of you don't even understand what he's saying. There's a way I must stay here by force, you know. And he said something. He just had to just prayerfully look for the unconventional way. Trust God to approach it. God gave him favor. It worked. And even now, you know, he's been vulnerable with us to say 6 months before the visa before ran out, the company he's with sponsored him again. Sponsorship is difficult in this day and age, but God favored him. He got it. So, yeah, I'm really proud of you. God bless you. God bless you. Yes.
So for me, when I was thinking about this, I think it was easy for me to say. The most obvious one was to say I'm most proud of coming out with my own product line within my beauty business. But
Tell us what the product line is.
Oh,
it's okay.
So I'm a makeup artist. My makeup artistry business is called DA Beauty Studio, which stands for Dolapo Aisha Beauty Studio. And in 2020, I came out with some products. So they are my brow soap, lip gloss, and I also have some eyelashes in the line, in the collection. My star product would be the brow soap, which is the one that I still promote and push till today. So I think that's the most obvious.
So that's
one.
passive income.
That's passive income, yes. So yes, I'm most proud of the way I've been able to generate.
Someone said, are you based in Manchester? She is based in Manchester.
Yes, I'm based in Manchester. Testers,
She didn't bring testers.
She'll
Bring them. You'll be around on Sunday?
Yes, I'll be around on Sunday.
You can meet her after service on Sunday. It's okay.
I'm really proud of the way I've been able to, generate income by just doing what I love on the side and showing up in the corporate world in my 9 to 5 as my most authentic self. It is actually what got me the job as a digital engineer. In my interview, it was when they asked me about what I was doing, what I did in university. In my interview, I barely talked about architecture. They wanted to know about the business I was doing on the side while studying. And I was just thinking, how is makeup related? How does that come into an architectural interview? So yeah, I'm proud of the way I've been able to generate income whilst doing what I love.
Could you talk about the milestone you just achieved and how you achieved it? Because I think that will inspire people as well,
yes.
if you don't mind.
No problem. So the recent milestone I've just achieved is just last week, I came out with my 3rd event, which is a masterclass.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, which one? Sorry.
The
house. Sorry. With that one as well.
Process, yeah.
Yes. So I also...
No, but listen to the process. It's key. It's key. Yeah.
I recently became a homeowner. about thank you, about 7 to 8 months now, and I'm really proud of that. And again, I was able to generate income to even be able to put down enough money for a house deposit, because I had my beauty business on the side. I was working in the corporate environment as well, and then about a year before starting on this journey of acquiring a mortgage, I knew that I needed income. You need capital to be able to actually achieve some of these things. But whilst I was in the industry, my salary wasn't, for what I wanted, my salary wasn't enough. I had my beauty business on the side. I could add that as well to what I could present to the bank as this is my income, my total earnings, but it still wasn't enough. And I took the step of getting a third job to be able to fund, to fund the finances that I needed for my mortgage. So I took up a job as a cleaner, so as a housekeeper for about almost a year. I would wake up at 5 a.m. to go and clean at this insurance firm that was like 10 minutes away from my house in Crewe. So between 5 to 7, I would clean, and then from 7 to 8, I would drive back home and get ready for my 9 to 5. Work my 9 to 5, and then after my 9 to 5, on some days, I would also have makeup bookings. That means getting my kit ready and going to wherever I need to go to, either Manchester, Liverpool. Sometimes I would travel as far as Birmingham to take a bridal booking and then come back home, and I would do that on repeat for about, around 7 to 8 months to be able to fund this house, and I'm really proud of that. So yes, thank you.
I hope you are learning. There's grafting. There is grafting. And you look at her teeth are really nice, by the way. I've told her before, very white, clean, arranged teeth. You don't know the ruggedness. and we have to talk to ourselves in our generation that, like at the beginning, there's work to be done. There is. And, I don't want to bring myself in because I just want the spotlight to be on Dolly, but there's work to be done. Like, we have to get to that mindset, because some of us don't want to get our hands dirty. And I wanted you to hear that testimony, because sometimes you see people and you think, oh, this one is lucky. Lucky where? People that get things done, they work hard. We must understand the principles as well as having the relationship with the person. And if you take that away today, your life is going to change, because that mentality of I have to graft. But the Holy Spirit will give you wisdom on how to graft. And then when you listen to the time she's doing, 5 a.m., sometimes till, 10 p.m., well, how much time are you getting to sleep? But then the Holy Spirit gives you strength as well. That as you're working hard, he just gives you that diligence. That people look at your schedule, they say, there's no way this is physically possible. But you say, even when I look at it, how did I achieve? But you just know God gives you the strength to work hard. But if you're willing to work hard, the seed you sow, you will reap the harvest. I'm telling you. Now, she's living our own house, mortgage, own house, by the grace of God. By the grace of God. But it takes hard work. Yes.
I think it would be really easy for me to say that. What's the word? Obviously, I'm currently now what we considered a licensed practitioner in terms of like I can work independently. I have my own PIN number registered on the General Medical Council. I'll be recognised as like a MD in whatever country I go to. The only issue with that is that everyone always asks, oh, so why didn't you just work privately? Why didn't you work just... Nobody wants someone that's 1 or 2 years out of uni. So if you're going to pay private money, you're paying for a consultant, which is why people still have to train within the NHS, honestly. That's why everyone, like, most doctors work for the NHS, because that's the only place you can build accreditation, so people can then say, okay, I'll pay for you privately. So although after 1 year after working, everyone gets this certificate to say, okay, now you're independently registered, I think a lot more of my reward, I guess, from my job has come from the less tangible things. And I think I'm speaking to people who don't have, award-winning, or I've been recognised as this and recognised as that, but I still go back to work every day knowing that I'm really good at my job because of the feedback I get from people above me. Even to get that accreditation after 1 year, you have to bring evidence, like between graduating and now, this is what I've done to prove that I can practice independently. But the feedback from those above me, even the feedback from patients, there was a woman who was postnatal, so she's just had her baby, that I saw over this weekend, and she was like, oh, I remember you, because she came back into hospital because she was getting some more pain. And she was like, I saw so many people during the course of having my baby, but I only remember one other that was called Naomi and you. And it's because you were just so happy. Like I just remember your face. And it's things like, I remember an elderly woman looking at me and being like, oh, because of you, me and my husband are going to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary. And she gave me a card and an Amazon voucher. And those are the kind of things that like wake me up and keep me going back to my job. I'm really grateful that I've survived. Not many jobs require you to work overnight, to work 12 and a half hours, to work 70-something hours in a week. So it's little things like that that I guess are milestones for me within my career.
It's really good. I like the way you spoke into that, actually, because, like you said, it's not always about the tangible things. And in addition to that, I've seen how, and I sometimes question, I talk to my wife, I said, well, that's between her and God, innit? How you balance being so involved at work, but also being so involved in church as well. And I think that's also a testament for everybody as well, because sometimes people feel it's either one or the other, and it's not true. You can be devoted to God, you can have a social life, you can be devoted to work, you can. And God cares about how we do our work well. And I want us to take that into this season. Don't let anyone deceive you. Oh, you start working, oh, something has to give. Yes, it's true. And you'll have seasons where, because we can talk about balance being a myth, but you'll have seasons where some things are a bit more, but your heart should be, I'm willing to stretch myself to be used of God in all the different fields. Amen? Yep. Last but not least, before we jump into the questions.
So my milestone would be probably winning a global hackathon, but the milestone is not so much winning. 2 points. So I'm in data. The main difference between a data scientist or data analyst and a software engineer is that they build things, a website, an app. A data person usually solves a problem by researching and coming up with a strategy, ideas, innovation, etc. So in terms of hackathons, I'm sure you've heard of it. You have the local ones where come together, build
for the people that haven't heard of hackathon.
Okay, hackathon is basically it's a competition where you come together in a short period of time, 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, and you build something or you solve a problem. There's loads, even locally, but there's also another side of hackathons, and it's a business. And people live off of winning hackathons. They travel around the world, they build something, they win $15,000, they go to the next one. And that's basically what they do. And just as Josh was explaining in the corporate world, how there's like a structure, there's a game to play, hackathons also, the business side of hackathons, also there's a great game, and people who've been in the game for long enough, they know what to do, they know how to build something, but not really build just enough to show the judges and be like, okay, I'll take my money and go. But in 2022, I was introduced to that just because, again, as I mentioned earlier, I am someone who's driven by curiosity and learning. So if an opportunity exposes me to that, no reason, and it's legal, no reason to say no. So in 2022, I was told, oh, there's this crypto Web3 stuff. Do you want to go to a conference and learn? I said, yeah, February 2022, I went. There was a hackathon. They said, do you want to join? I said, no, thank you. April, again, another opportunity. And they said, this time, though, if you want to go, you need to hack. And I thought, I'm going to Amsterdam. I'm learning. Yeah, okay, I'll hack. But my one thing was, first of all, I'm a data person. Everyone else around me is either a project manager or a software engineer. And I thought, you know what, I won't allow that discourage me. I am going to hack, but I will only hack if we're doing a data-based product. I did some research and I thought, I will only hack on this idea. And usually what tends to happen is you need to come up with the idea during the hackathon. And again, there was a few people that were, were newbies like me. And it was really hard for them to come up with an idea. But I already knew whatever I'm doing, it has to be data-based. And I got my team, we went for it. And I remember being in the judges, because again, it's a long process. You build, you submit, and then they shortlist, like, I don't know, from 200 projects to like the top 50, then 10 go on the main stage and share. But the top 50, they actually face the judges. So the judges go through all of the projects that were submitted online, and then the shortlisted people go onto the judges. And I remember we went through the whole project, and they said, okay, but what's your selling point? And I thought, the database, it was something about regarding the scoring system, etc. And they were like, oh, we've never heard of that. Oh, that's good. And I could see their faces light up. And at the end, found out that we won against people that know the game, that have been there for a long time. And I just want it to be an encouragement that as you're going into the corporate world or wherever you'll find yourself, your ideas and creativity are valued. Don't feel like, oh, I'm new, I should just keep quiet. Like, just be bold, because I think that's your selling point, the fact that you're thinking outside the box, because obviously you've not been long enough to conform to the way everybody else is thinking.
That's good. That's really good. Okay, I had some more stuff, but I think for time, I want to throw the questions open to the floor. Do we have, we're gonna need to take one of your mics. Sorry. Thanks for that. Okay, I'm gonna pass it around. If you have questions online, feel free to ask your questions, that's okay. Do we have any questions in-house? Or should I keep going with the content? Okay, question? Oh, okay, we've got a question. If you have a question online, you can put it on the chat. I'm trying to monitor the chat to see, and I can try and ask them.
So all of you have a lot of very different paths, but my question to ask is a general one. It's a question of, what was your biggest setback in the corporate world or your entrepreneurship journey, and how did you rely on God and bounce back? And any like underlying principles or systems you utilize that, okay, this helped me bounce back?
That's good. Let's start with Namdi. I want to hear from your 10 years of experience. It doesn't have to be personal. Maybe you know someone around you that this relates to. But if you can do personal, even better. But that's fine.
I think mine was, I delivered this was early in my career, and I was part of a team that was to do some analysis to deliver a project. And I did the analysis, project was delivered, the results were great. It went to the client, because I work with government bodies, so it went to the government and, they received it. And then I was like, I was looking at the computer again, the desktop, and I was like, that's wrong. That shouldn't be there. And it was something that I did. Yeah, and so I battled with it so much because I had two options. Either I kept quiet and no one would know, right? Or I said something, and I battled with that, honestly. But eventually I said, you know what, I'm going to, mention it. And, I mentioned it, and my supervisors, their eyes were like, what? And, because it's quite embarrassing. So they had to now go to the project sponsor. She said, who was the government body, and had to apologize and everything, and so we had to redo it again. That really knocked my confidence that time, and I knew that it followed me home. I had sleepless nights and just kept replaying it, because it's when you're sure you did something right, but you just don't know what came over you, and you realize you didn't do what you thought you did. So I just had to just keep telling, speaking to myself, confessing the word of God that, I'm not my mistakes. I know that God has given me an excellent mind. And my supervisors were like, oh, don't worry, it happens. Of course, God helped them to be very kind to me at the time. But yeah, that was one thing that really knocked me.
That's a really, thank you for sharing that. That's a really good example. And I think as Christians, we're always going to find this battle, one that's going to be in front of you. When a mistake is made, how do I approach that mistake? And I want us to please bear in mind that you're not always going to be expected to restitute every time. There are some restitutions you do. For example, let me give you an example. Someone gets married to 3 women based on the culture they live in, and they then come to Christ. Do you want them to send the other 2 women? Which one do they send away? They have children with the women. Life gets complicated. So do you send the women away and say, I've come to Christ, go and live as a single mother? Does that make sense? So sometimes there are certain things that will happen. Ask the Holy Spirit, what do I do? But don't just assume I'm going to take the safer option. Does that make sense? And you could tell from what Namdi said that he was pricked in his conscience. He needed to expose himself. So you should then always, whenever it feels like you're about to be exposed, ask the Holy Spirit to just comfort you and just shield you in that moment. And one thing that we see from the life of Daniel is Daniel had a cell group. So Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. When the king wanted to kill them, and Daniel says, give me a night, he goes to his cell group and they begin to pray. It's key. They begin to pray. And what Daniel was saying is, God, that means you're able to give the solution to either myself, Shadrach, Meshach, or Abednego as they're praying in their cell group. The vision comes to Daniel at night and he knows what to do. So as you step into the corporate world, there might be times where there's a Christian fellowship in your workplace, or you have 2 or 3 people that are your boys, that all of you have each other. Things happen, you enter your cell group. I need prayers today, guys. I don't know what to do. I've messed up. I need you guys to check in on me regularly because I just feel like, don't allow me to take the easy option because my confidence is knocked. And sometimes as Christians, we over-spiritualize. Have your cell group that you can be real with. People on the same level, value-wise as you, that will pick you up, not allow you to slop around and, cry, I made a mistake. Yes, everybody makes mistakes. Stand up and try again. Does that make sense? I want to hear from Dr. Anna. Medically, any challenges, if you're allowed to say, of course. Okay, let me ask you a question on behalf of the people. Obviously, you deal with people that have died. Mm-hmm. How do you handle that? Because, fam, it's a bit mad. It feels like I just killed. Does it feel like I killed someone when it was you that dealt with the person last? How do you handle that mentally?
I think that the question made me realize that maybe I don't handle it. It's like maybe I don't fully think it through. I remember in medical school, we learned anatomy on dead bodies. So the first time I was exposed to a dead body was in my first year. And I think it was from then that they were subconsciously conditioning you to be okay with it, if that makes sense. So I can still remember they were all covered in tarpaulin and they were like, okay, we're gonna, I think they did it from the foot first. So we're gonna show you the feet. And they literally rolled up bit by bit. So nobody fainted or screamed or started crying. They would tell you how old they were and what they died of. Just information to make you comfortable with it, if that makes sense. So then they'll be like, okay, does everyone want to touch it? This was our very, very first session. And then you feel that they were quite cold and rubbery. So then in my mind, it was very much like, this, it was almost like a doll, if that makes sense. And it sounds very weird, but if you're not medical, you won't get it. But it's like everyone has their way of dealing with it. So it was almost in that dehumanizing of the person that I was able to cope with it at that point in time. I think it becomes a bit different when it's like, I just saw this person 20 minutes ago and they were talking to me, if that makes sense. And what you have to try not to do is think, this is someone's dad or this is someone's brother. Those things make it worse. And something that I also had to stop doing was comparing ages. So it's like my mum's age, my sister's age, because you see people like that pass away. It is very tough when people make you think about it, but it's my job. So, and it's what I was called to do, if that makes sense. So I feel like I'm just very built not to obviously break down emotionally every time it happens. I think the first couple of cardiac arrest situations, which is where someone's heart stops, I feel like in geriatrics, geriatrics probably wasn't the nicest jobs I had, because we're dealing with old people, their deaths are more expected. And you'd get families all the time who were like, oh, thank you for helping my grandma die well. Thank you for helping my dad die well, or my mum die well. And that was beautiful. Like, you can see the beauty in people dying, because, you know, it's appointed to each man at least wants to die, if that makes sense. Like, death, the one thing that is guaranteed when you are born is that death happens. It gets hard when it's unexpected, if that makes sense, and people weren't prepared for it. But I think if you can get over that hurdle of, you know, everyone's supposed to die, and this is where being a Christian is amazing, because like there's so much hope in death not being the end, such that like this fear of death, it's like I've seen it so many times that I can't be scared, if that makes sense. The only thing I don't know is what it actually feels like. But in terms of like watching it, it doesn't scare me. A lot of it is through, I would say, conditioning. Your first cardiac arrest where you're trying to bring people back, that is like, it can scar you, if that makes sense. But once someone's cut a wound and is scarred and it's healed, like you're healed, if that makes sense. So it's like it doesn't quote unquote hurt anymore. It's really hard to explain if you don't do my job. And that's why not everyone's called to do my job, if that makes sense, because I can sit here and I'm smiling about it, and it probably looks really weird, like, why are you so happy? Why are you so happy? But in the moment, I remember, I think the youngest person was like a 31, 32-year-old woman, and she looked like all of us, you know what I mean? Sometimes you see people and it's like, oh, they look ill, like they're 30-something, but they look like 50-something, or they've had all of these struggles and disabilities. This girl, she just said, I had pain in my chest. Within 20 minutes of being in hospital, she collapsed. And it's almost weird because we didn't know why. We were trying to bring her back for like an hour and 20 minutes. And I remember her sisters came in, and I have sisters. It was like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. That was probably one of the top two worst experiences. I remember my colleague talking to me, and it felt like I was underwater. Like, I could not hear what they were saying. So it does get to you, because like, I remember that day I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I was like, I wasn't built for this. But I really thank God. That's where I see, like, when they say grace and like people being built for something, I see it in moments like that, where, like I said, I go to sleep and I wake up and I come back the next day and it's like, okay, and for every story like that, I can give you 10 more of people that have left hospital alive, people that have been in hospital for over 100 days and we thought they weren't going to make it out, and we got them out of hospital, if that makes sense. So you only, like, news is always bad. Even in the media and stuff, they love to shout the bad things, but you then see the same grace of God that saves us in, you know, like I said, that couple where she was like, we're going to see our 50th anniversary. Her husband came in, not talking, not eating. We were preparing his wife to be all like, you know, if he doesn't wake up, we're gonna stop feeding him. And if we stop feeding him, then eventually he's gonna die. And I remember coming into work the next day, and this guy was sat in a chair with like a newspaper, and I was like, Maurice. And Maurice goes, bonjour. I said, Maurice that wasn't speaking English is now speaking to me in French. I said, Jesus, no. I've seen like what science can do, and I've seen what even science couldn't do and what God has done, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really good. I'm so happy. My heart is full of joy. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say, I don't care what anybody says, it's my mom. I didn't see my mom. The last time I saw my mom was, I went for a summer camp, and she said, come and move your car. I said, yeah, that was the last time. I didn't see her in the casket. I didn't go to the morgue, because the way I'm built, I need to inspire other people. So I watch what I see. So I could never do that job. I'm trying to emphasize what she said. I could never, ever. Because if I'm weighed down, I need energy to, the amount of people that come to me, I can't be weighed down. So they said, are you not going to see? I said, I don't need to see it. Are you sure? I'm very sure. I saw the white casket. I remember the color of the guy. I know where she's buried. That's it. I didn't see I didn't see the grade. Nothing. Didn't see it, fam. So when God calls you, because God calls us to our workplaces. If you don't know, God calls you. He does. He graces you for it. There's a special grace to be able to do your work. And as a Christian, we have to lean into that grace more in this season. You know, there's a difficult problem. Maybe I was talking about trying to hack something. Hacking isn't always bad, by the way. And it's like, where do we start from? And the Holy Spirit says, turn left. You're like, left? What? And it works, you know. So yeah, it's really interesting. Finally, on this question, as we start to wrap up, Dolly, have you ever messed up someone's makeup? And what did you do? Oh, I didn't mean to rhyme there. How do you overcome that when news is spread, oh, she's not good, she doesn't know what she's doing? Especially in the creative industry where, like, reputation feels, you know, like, what do you do?
No, it's so true what you said about reputation, because people talk within the industry, especially within the creative industry. I've had a lot of bookings where I'm doing somebody's makeup and they're telling me about the last time they booked a makeup artist, and then they're like, it didn't work out. And she did this, the color, it didn't match. And at first I was just like, oh no. One thing I always do is I don't ask for whoever this makeup artist is, like whoever they went to before, because it's none of my business. All I can do is listen to them and just say, oh, okay, it's a terrible experience. I'm sure the person as well, they didn't mean to to mess your face up. But in my experience, I'm trying to think, have I ever had... I have situations where I'm doing somebody's makeup and it's not going well, but they don't know that. I know that it's not going well, and I pray. I literally pray in that moment, and I'm like, Lord, please take control here. Be my hands, blend for me because I can't. And sometimes it's not. When you're doing someone's makeup, it's not really about your products or your technique. Sometimes it might just be the technique you're using to apply makeup on this person's face. They might have dry skin, they might have oily skin, and it's the products I'm using isn't actually, it's not working out with their skin. It's not aligning perfectly. So it's hard to know what's what, but over time you get to know, you get to know how to deal with people's skin. I've had situations where I did somebody's makeup. I did I can think of one now. I did somebody's mum's makeup. It was a bridal booking, and I was booked to do the bride's mum's makeup. However, one thing with the bride's mum or the groom's mum, especially with if you're Nigerian here, our Nigerians, our parents sometimes, they don't have time for makeup on the day of the wedding. And especially if they don't see value into what you're being asked to do on them, they're not going to give you the time of day. But I've been booked to do a job. Your daughter has told me to do makeup on you because she wants you to look a certain way. But then I have my client sitting in front of me saying, don't do anything on me, don't put foundation on me, don't do this, don't do that. So then what do I do? So then this is where I have to then I have to talk to them and say, well, I've been booked to do this. I'm encouraging them. I'm taking them along with every step, literally every single step. After doing foundation, I'll give them the mirror. Is this enough? Is this too much? And even though it's for them, it's also for me, because it then calms me down and it makes me less anxious about what I'm about to do. But on this particular booking, I did this lady's mum's makeup, and I thought I did a great job. I wasn't able to actually do her makeup properly to the point where I was satisfied with my work, but it was enough for her to go to the wedding, and I thought it was a great job. We worked well together, and left it at that. And then a week later, the bride gets in contact with me. By the way, this was also very early on in my career. This was probably the first time I ever dealt with negative
She's
feedback.
like, don't worry, I'm better now.
Yes.
In case you want to book me.
In case you're wondering, this is not in recent years. Fun fact, I used to be called, my brand name was Dollhouse Beauty a long time ago. So this is not DA Beauty, this is Dollhouse Beauty. Before the rebrand, exactly. Just let it be known. So she came up to me and she said, oh, hi, Dolly. Thank you so much for the work you did last week. It was great, but I didn't really like my mum's makeup. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then I listened to her. I said, can we jump on a call? And we talked, and she said, I didn't really like it. It was ashy. It didn't look right. She didn't look exactly the way I envisioned her to look, and I wanted her to look on my big day. And I then said to her, I then had to talk to her. At first, I apologized. Just you know how we always say the customer is always right. So I had to humble myself in that moment. I apologized and I said, I'm so sorry that I didn't meet your expectations. And then I explained my side of the story, like this is what happened on the day. Because most times when you're working on a bridal job, you're not always with the bride, so they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And I actually have stories for days when it comes to working on big jobs like these. So I explained, this is what happened. I tried to do this on your mother, but she wouldn't allow me to. And I had to also respect her wishes and what she wanted. And especially if it's a Nigerian wedding with elders as well. I was a young 22-year-old. I can't now say, Ma, this is what your daughter asked me to do. I'm going to do it by fire, by force. I'm going to do what I came to do on you. So I also had to tell her that this was my position in all of this. This is why I took certain decisions. And your mother chose the look that she rocked on the day. I tried my very best, and then she understood, but in the end, it was still a case of I didn't do a good job in her eyes. I apologized, and I said, I'll do better the next time. I hope you book me again. Checked in on her a few weeks after, and yeah, I mended that relationship, and I think that's the key thing in this industry that I'm in. It's all about relationship building, even with me bringing out my product line. The biggest lesson I've learned is that relationships is key
it's
to sell
key
the
for
product.
Every industry. Every industry.
You have to learn how to mend relationships, build them, and even if you're caught in scandal or something doesn't go well, you have to be able to build those bridges back.
That's good. Time is gone. We need to move to there's a final session today, and people are waiting. They're eager for that session. I want to end off what Dolapo just said. Wisdom is the principal thing. When you step out in the world of work, someone throws the baton at you. People don't care if the person threw the baton at you. They care if you caught the baton. We're talking about relay races. People don't care that the person's mom said, I don't have time, be fast, this and this. They just care or don't care that you didn't do the makeup well. So you always have to understand this, and always, with wisdom, create as many plus points for yourself as possible. For example, in the world of work, word of mouth is not good enough. Many of you will know what I'm talking about. You have a conversation with someone, you send an email to the person, carrying on from our conversation where you said X, Y, so that if someone said, I never said that, you can point back to the trail. Does that make sense? Wisdom is the principal thing. I'm telling you, as you start working, you have to understand. Take screenshot. There are times I'm having conversations with people, I say, this person is mad. They can move mad. Do you know there are times, like you go on a website, you know that feeling of, I feel like I should screenshot this checkout page in case something, that's what I'm talking about. In the world of work, you have to be smart. Oh God. You have to be clever. Certain conversations you have in a public space. Don't let anybody say, the person touched me. Never. I've told you guys, in case I don't carry women. I don't want anybody to ever say, Josh put his hand on my lap. It can't happen. Recently, I took Mame to a train station. I have the video in my iCloud. Anybody that wants to contest, 11 minutes, 25 seconds. I put my phone in the car. I put my hand across. I said, if anybody puts their hand across, you can see in the video. I said, see, Mame is putting her bag in the boots. You can see her in the boots. You see it in the video. And Mame sat down, we're talking, you can hear the conversation. And then at the end, she put her head in the video. I said, just to prove that she didn't cross the points. Do you understand what I'm saying? You need wisdom. Wisdom is the principal thing.
Can I also say, sorry, this also works with good things. If someone says, oh, I really like, I said, put it in an email, write it down. I'm going to keep that feedback anything, it's not always negative, sometimes positive things.
Wisdom.
Let people write it down so you can say, oh, look what my supervisor said, look what my superior said. If you're running business, this is now 5-star review,
Yes.
feedback.
Yes.
Oh, you enjoyed my session? Oh, can you put that on camera?
Can I say that in case some of you don't even get me, you don't. After sessions, oh, how do you find the session? It's not me saying the session was good. People are watching my stories. Someone else, it's a different person. It's not the same person every week. You have to use wisdom. Wisdom is the principal thing. I'm telling you, if you understand this, you'll thrive in the place of work. When someone comes against you and they want to bring evidence, you say, oh, swear. You say, oh, look, but this email, they keep quiet. Wisdom is the principal thing. People say, oh, and at work they ganged up against me. You have to be smart. Wisdom is the principal thing. That's where we will end this session today for now, but we're going to have to do this again because I think we just need to equip ourselves, and then we start going deep as Christians, dealing with some problems that we face. How do we tackle those issues individually? I know some of you have now, the question is now coming up. Someone, Josiah, you put your hand up too late. Should have done it quick. But thank you so much. Can we just clap for our panelists? Thank you for giving up your time. Yes. Thank you for giving up your time. I wanna make this formal, and just have a space where we can share stuff. If we have this again, we can let ourselves know. There's a QR code for a new group chat. Grad Plus, scan the QR code, mate. It's part of the community. Make sure you join it, get benefits. Stuff will be shared on there. If you want to invite someone, the community is growing, mate. And may God help us in Jesus' name. So scan the QR code, send it around, join, and let's progress from there. Anybody enjoyed the session today? Yeah. I've enjoyed the session, so tough if you don't like it. It's been really nice. And like I said, if anything, see how Oluwalogbon, God connected him in this season by relationships. So spend time. After service, don't just gist about, oh, how's your trainers? Like it. Go deep. Oh, nice hair. Where did you get it from? Oh, Ras, where? Like Alibaba. No, talk about deeper things. I know, don't worry, I don't do hair, so sorry. Talk about deeper things. And, can I say that other ethnicities are very quick to do this. Whether it's the Asian community, the kind of conversations they have, Caucasian communities, some of them look like they're messing around, especially the lads. But I know a private chef who does stuff for people, cooks, obviously. And he tells me, he said, Josh, you won't believe, I'll go to a nice house, it'll mention an area in Manchester or a posh area, and I'm doing private dinner for the lads, and like 6 of them around the table. Okay, I've got this much money, let's put it into a property. I said, we need to start having this kind of conversations. I discovered this stock. And people are like they're eating nice 3-course, 7-course meal, but they're talking business. Amen? For the kingdom. Look, some of us need to step into the realm that God is calling you to. Some of you have a big burden to intercede. You don't need to publicize it, but you've sensed that if I'm spending time interceding, how am I going to pay my bills? So God is going to take you into a place where you'll earn for 6 months what you need for 12 months. And then for 6 months, you intercede. You can just disappear for 2 weeks. Go to an Airbnb and just intercede. You go to the countryside so you can really blast. Nobody says, my neighbor is making noise. And the money for the Airbnb, you have it. You go to the place, you are and you come back, you do another contract. Am I making sense, guys? There's so much to be said. I know some ministries, but not everybody will be able to be connected to ministries like that. May God help us. It's time for the next session. Thank you so much. Scan the QR code, join the group. It's been fun. I'm so happy. God is doing a new thing. New wine. It is well. New wine. It's exciting. Okay. Thank you. If you are done with that session, move, get out. If you are here for the other session, please move forward. Let's begin. oh yeah, we need to end the stream.